I realized too late that someone was testing me 4 times. I didn't understand the danger until it was almost too late. My name is Daniel. I'm 28 years old now, and I need to tell you about 4 separate occasions when something very wrong was happening. But I didn't realize what it meant until I was already in serious danger. 4 times when someone was observing me, testing me, waiting for the right moment. 4 times when I almost died because I was too confused to understand what was actually taking place. The scariest thing about these stories isn't the moments of direct danger. It's the lead-up. It's the moments when my brain was trying desperately to rationalize something that my gut knew was deeply fundamentally wrong. It's the realization that came too late. The understanding that someone had been watching, planning, waiting. If you think you would recognize danger when it's building, these stories will change your mind. If you think predators are obvious, think again. Because the most dangerous people don't announce themselves. They observe first. They test your response. They gather information. And only when they're certain you're vulnerable do they make their move. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear is about the moments when everything clicks into place. The moments when you understand that someone was never lost, that they weren't looking for directions, that they came to your door for a very specific reason. These are 4 times I realized too late that someone was testing me. Story 1. The cabin on the mountain. I decided to spend a week alone in a cabin in the Cascades in Washington. It was the kind of place that gets advertised in those travel magazines. Isolated, peaceful, the perfect escape. The cabin sat down a long dirt road. Dense forest surrounded it on all sides. No neighbors, no other people, just trees and silence. Winter was just starting. There was snow on the ground. Not a lot, but enough to make the whole landscape feel quiet and still. The first 3 days were exactly what I needed. I could actually think without the constant noise of the world demanding my attention. But on the 4th day, something changed. Around 2 in the afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. No one knew I was there. I had told barely anyone where I was going. I walked to the door. There was no way to see outside without opening it. So I opened it. Standing there was a man. He wore a thick winter jacket and a black wool hat. Snow clung to his clothes. His face was pale. His cheeks were red from the cold. He looked like he had been outside for a very long time. "How can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but already feeling something off. "I'm lost," he said, smiling. "I was hiking and I got turned around. Can you point me toward town?" I was confused immediately. This road only led to the cabin. There were no trails nearby. There was no reason for anyone to be hiking out here in the snow and to get lost and end up at a private cabin that required a very specific sequence of events. But I told him how to get back to town. Left at the driveway, follow the main road. Straight shot. He nodded and smiled. And then there was this weird pause. He just stood there, looking at me, neither of us saying anything. It made me uncomfortable. So I closed the door. I heard his boots walk away. I told myself it was nothing. People get lost. That's what happens when you're in remote areas. But something about that interaction stayed with me. Hours passed. The afternoon turned into evening. The sun started to set earlier than it had the previous days. Around 6 o'clock, I noticed the snow was coming down harder. The light snowfall from earlier had turned into something more substantial. I went to the back door. pulled the curtains back so I could see the backyard. And that's when I froze. There were footprints in the snow, not just any footprints. Footprints walking around the back of the cabin in a circular pattern, like someone was walking the perimeter of the house. My chest tightened. Had that man come back? Had he walked around my cabin? I tried to convince myself there could be other explanations. Maybe the footprints were old. Maybe they were from a previous visitor. Maybe I was being paranoid. But I knew better. I looked more carefully. The footprints seemed relatively fresh. The edges weren't blurred by the wind. They looked recent. I checked every door and window, made sure they were all locked. Then I turned off all the lights, went to the bedroom, and tried to calm down. I told myself I was being irrational. I pulled up a video on my laptop, tried to distract myself, but my mind kept returning to those footprints. Around 10 at night, I decided to go to bed. I shut down the laptop and was getting ready for sleep when I heard it. A knock at the front door. My entire body went rigid. Not another knock, not a gentle knock, a deliberate knock, like someone trying to get my attention. "Hey, it's me again." It was the man from earlier. His voice came through the door. "I'm still lost. It's cold out here. Can you please help me?" I'd given him directions. Clear directions. The road was easy to follow. Why was he back? I opened my bedroom door so I could hear better. "It's cold," he called again. "I need help." I didn't respond, and then he stopped knocking. The silence that followed was somehow worse than the knocking. I crept into the main room. The windows had blackout curtains. I pulled one back slightly and looked out. I could see footprints in the snow leading up to the porch, but no footprints leading away. He was still out there. I grabbed my phone and called 911. "There's a man at my cabin," I told the dispatcher. "He's been here all day. He came to the door earlier asking for directions, and now he's back." They said police would be there in 45 minutes. I locked myself in the bedroom. I sat in complete darkness, listening to the wind, waiting. 10 minutes of silence. The wind was the only sound. Then suddenly a loud thud shook the cabin. Not at the door, not at a window, somewhere on top of the building. My heart was racing so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. The officer's voice came through the darkness, yelling, get down now." More sounds outside. The officer was shouting at someone. The thud came again. And that's when I understood. The man had climbed onto the roof of the cabin. He wasn't trying to break down the door. He was trying to find another way in. Red and blue lights started flashing outside my window. The police had arrived. I walked to the front door and opened it. The officer who had been yelling was in the yard. He was looking up at the roof. The man was up there, just sitting, watching. It took 3 officers to get him down. He didn't fight. He just came quietly. They arrested him for trespassing. But when they asked him what he was doing, he wouldn't say. Just kept saying he was lost. I asked the police how long they thought he had been there. They said probably all day. From the moment he left my door the first time, he had walked around my cabin. He had come back. He had waited. And when I was in bed vulnerable, he had climbed onto the roof. What was he waiting for? I don't know. What he would have done if the police hadn't shown up, I don't want to know. Story. To the night shift at the shop, I work at a 24-hour ice cream shop in a small town. It's a tiny place. 1 room. Maybe 10 people could fit inside at a time. But it's surprisingly popular because the parking lot is huge. And there are abandoned storefronts next to us. It's like a dead strip mall with one survivor. I work overnight shifts, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. Most nights are quiet. A few teenagers, maybe one or two random people. Then nothing. This particular night was slow. I had cleaned, I had organized, I had done everything I could think of to pass the time. Around 1 a.m., a group of teens came in. They stayed for 20 minutes and left. After that, I was alone. I was so bored that I decided to take out the trash. Even though my shift wasn't close to ending, I grabbed the garbage bag from behind the counter and headed out back. The night was completely silent. No cars, no people, just me and the darkness. I tossed the trash in the dumpster and started walking back. That's when I saw it, a light flickering inside one of the abandoned shops next to the ice cream store. I stopped walking. At first, I thought it was a car passing by, a reflection of headlights, but I looked at the road. No cars. The light flickered again. It was definitely coming from inside the abandoned building, deep inside, like someone was walking around with a flashlight. I told myself it was probably just some kids exploring. That was the most logical explanation. But something about it felt wrong. I went back inside and tried not to think about it. I leaned against the counter and stared out the front windows, just spacing out, killing time. Around 2 a.m., I heard a sound. It came from the wall that separated the ice cream shop from the abandoned building. A soft thud, like someone bumping into something. Then another sound. I went over and put my ear against the wall. It was quiet for a moment. Then I heard what sounded like someone moving stuff around, dragging things. My mind immediately went back to the light I had seen. Someone was definitely in that building. I considered calling the police, but I didn't have proof of anything. So I decided to wait. I tried to go back to work, but I kept thinking about that sound. Around 2:30, the door chimed. A customer walked in. He was in his 40s, unkempt, long greasy hair, dirty clothes. He just stood there at the counter, staring at me. "Welcome in. What can I get you?" I said. He didn't respond, just stared. After a few seconds that felt like an eternity, he smiled. A strange, uncomfortable smile. Then he turned and walked back out. The entire interaction lasted maybe 30 seconds, but it left me deeply unsettled. Why had he come in? What did he want? I sat at the counter and tried to calm down. An hour passed. I needed a break. I needed to get out of that building. So I grabbed my lunch and walked out to my car. I sat in the driver's seat and ate while looking back at the shop. The parking lot was empty except for my car. The night was quiet. Then I saw movement. A man walked around the corner of the ice cream shop. It was the same man who had come in 30 minutes earlier, but this time he wasn't alone. There was another man with him. This second man had something in his hand, a flashlight. They both walked toward the ice cream shop, not casually, not like customers, like they were on a mission. They entered the shop. I couldn't see them from my car, but I could see their shadows on the windows. They moved quickly through the shop, behind the counter, into the back room. Then they ran out. They didn't take anything. They weren't there to rob the place. They were looking for something, or someone. They were looking for me. If I had been inside the shop instead of sitting in my car, I don't know what would have happened. I immediately called 911. The police arrived within minutes. They found the abandoned shop next door had a broken door. The two men had been inside all night. They were gone by the time the police arrived, but they had been watching me, planning something. The first man had come in to confirm I was alone. Then he had gone back to get his partner, and they had searched the shop looking for me. Story 3, the intruder in my apartment. I live in an old apartment building. It's not fancy, but it's cheap, and it's mine. The building is old enough that it makes sounds. It settles. It creaks. It's just the nature of aging structures. This was a regular night. I got home from work around 6, made some dinner, watched some TV. I was tired, so I went to bed early. Around 3 in the morning, I woke up to a sound, a creaking, like something was moving. I told myself it was just the building. Old buildings do this all the time. But the creaking didn't stop. It was rhythmic. One creak, a pause, another creak, like something was walking. I got out of bed and opened my bedroom door. The apartment was dark. The windows were closed. The lights were off. I could hear the creaking more clearly now. It was coming from the left side of the apartment, from the kitchen. I walked out into the hallway, and that's when I saw him, a figure at the far end of the hallway, standing in the darkness. A man. I froze. He didn't look at me. He just kept moving, slowly walking across the end of the hallway. His eyes were staring straight ahead, like he didn't see me at all, like he was alone. I panicked. I backed up into my bedroom and closed the door. I didn't lock it. I was too scared to make a sound. I listened as the creaking continued. He was walking through my apartment, opening cabinets, moving things, like he was searching for something. The creaking moved into the living room. Then I heard it. The sound of him sitting down on my couch. He was sitting on my couch, in my apartment, in the middle of the night, waiting. I grabbed my phone and texted 911. I texted instead of calling because I was terrified he would hear my voice. The message came back within seconds. Officers were on the way. I waited in my bedroom, shaking. 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. I kept expecting him to get up, to walk toward my bedroom, to try the door, but he just sat there. I could hear him shifting slightly, but otherwise he was still. The police arrived and stormed in within minutes. There was a struggle, yelling, then silence. I came out of my bedroom. The man was on the ground, handcuffed. The police said he had climbed up the exterior of my building, onto my second-story balcony. The sliding glass door didn't lock, so he just walked in. They asked me if I recognized him. I didn't. They asked if anything was stolen. Nothing was taken. He was just sitting on my couch, in the dark, waiting for something. When they questioned him, he said he was just trying to rob a random apartment, but that didn't make sense. He hadn't even brought anything to carry stolen goods. He was waiting for something else. Maybe he was waiting for me to come out of the bedroom. Maybe he was waiting for me to fall back asleep. Maybe he was just observing, learning, planning. I don't know. And that uncertainty is what haunts me. Story 4. The Fire in the Woods. It was early March. Winter was ending. The snow was melting. I'd been cooped up inside for months. So I decided to go camping. I drove out to a remote area, a place I'd been to the previous fall. I liked it because it was unpopular, isolated, quiet. I parked on the side of the road and hiked down to a small campsite. It wasn't much, just a clearing with an overlook of the forest below. I set up my camp quickly. The sun was setting fast. I wanted to get to bed early, so I gathered some sticks for a small fire. Then I walked to the overlook to watch the sunset. I'd only been sitting there for a few minutes when I noticed something below me. A fire. Someone else had a campfire going down the hill in the forest. That seemed odd. This area wasn't popular. I rarely saw other people here. But what was stranger was that there was no one at the fire. No tent, no chair, no person. Just a fire burning by itself. I watched it for a while, trying to understand. A fire doesn't start on its own. Someone had lit it, but they had abandoned it. I watched for almost an hour. The fire seemed to burn hotter. It grew larger. Like someone had added more logs. Like they wanted it to burn big. I got concerned. Abandoned fires are dangerous, especially in a forest. So I decided to go down and check on it. Maybe put it out. It was a 2-minute hike down. I used my flashlight to navigate the darkness. As I approached, the roaring fire got louder. The crackling grew more intense. The flames were high, almost out of control, and there were still more logs beneath it. Logs that hadn't caught fire yet. This fire had been carefully constructed, deliberately built to burn hot and long. I started throwing wet dirt on it, pulling out the unlit logs. It took about 5 minutes, but I got it under control. The fire died down. The forest became quiet and dark again. I turned my flashlight back on and started walking back to my campsite. But I decided I didn't feel comfortable camping here anymore. Someone was out here. Someone who had built that fire, and I didn't want to know why. So I started packing up my camp. That's when I heard footsteps. Someone was walking toward my campsite. I looked up. A figure emerged from the darkness. A man. He stopped about 50 yards away. "Did you light that fire?" I called out to him. He didn't answer. "Hello, can you just answer my question?" Nothing. He just stood there, watching me. An eerie feeling came over me. Pure dread. I grabbed my backpack and started walking toward my car. As I walked, he stayed right where he was, just watching. I didn't look back. I just kept walking. When I reached my car, I called the police and reported it. I never went back to that area. I never found out who he was, or why he built that fire, or what he wanted with me. Epilogue: The realization. I've spent years thinking about these 4 incidents, and I've come to understand something that terrifies me. All 4 of these were tests. In the cabin, the man came to my door to see if I would open it, to see if I would let him in, to gauge my response. When I didn't let him in, he came back to see if I'd forgotten, to see if I would answer again. Then he climbed on the roof, testing whether I would hear him, testing whether I would call for help. At the ice cream shop, the first man came in to confirm I was alone. No friends, no one else working, just me. When he confirmed that he went and got his partner, they returned to search for me, to confirm my location, to plan what came next. In my apartment, the man didn't attack. He walked through my space. He sat on my couch. He waited. He was learning my apartment, learning where I slept, learning how I would respond. In the forest, someone had built a massive fire, not to hurt me, but to see how I would react. These weren't random encounters. These were surveillance operations, and in each case, I almost became a victim of something much worse. The only reason I'm alive is because of luck. Because the police happened to arrive before the man at the cabin could do anything else. Because I decided to take my lunch break in my car. Because I texted 911 instead of being confronted. Because I decided to put out that fire. If any of those things had gone differently, I might not be here. Here's what I know now. When someone shows up where they shouldn't be, that's a test. When someone comes to your door with an implausible story, that's a test. When you hear sounds that don't make sense, that's a test. When something feels fundamentally wrong, that's not your imagination. That's your brain recognizing a pattern that your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. The predators of this world don't just attack randomly. They observe, they test, they gather information, and they're counting on you to rationalize away the warning signs. They're counting on you to give them multiple chances, to believe their stories, to convince yourself you're being paranoid. But I'm here to tell you, trust that feeling. That feeling exists for a reason. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. If someone feels dangerous, they probably are. And you don't owe them politeness. You don't owe them a second chance. You only owe yourself your survival. Stay safe. And remember, the people who hurt you don't announce their intentions. They test the waters first. Don't let yourself be a test subject.